Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's Pride Month. And if there's one thing I've learned, there's horror movies for every occasion. So, here are my recommendations of LGBT themed and or like I don't know, kind of inspired horror films to watch for the month of Pride to celebrate equality amongst all genders and sexualities. So yeah, I'm trying. I basically did a bit of research and found some ones that I know of, and uh, I'm gonna try and go for stuff that's underseen. So there's not gonna be really any Rocky Horror Picture Show on this list. Although I would highly recommend that for any occasion, not just Pride Month. But yeah, let's get right into this fucking thing. Okay, so first up on this old list of 6 horror movie recommendations for the month of Pride, we have High Tension, also known as Switchblade Romance. Honestly, for me to fully explain why this is a LGBT themed horror film, it would kind of spoil the movie. So I will leave it at the main character is in fact a lesbian. Essentially, it is about these 2 girls, and it is a French film, by the way. And they go to a cabin, not a cabin, they go to the one girl's parents' house out in the country, and suddenly in the middle of the night, a madman breaks into the house and starts killing the girl's family, and kidnaps the one girl, and it's up to the lesbian main character to save her friend and, kill this absolute fucking madman who is known as the Trucker, or at least that's what I know him as. Really cool, interesting, violent, pretty fucking violent little movie. I honestly like the movie. A lot of people hate it. It's very much split down the middle once you finish the movie. You know, some people love it, some people hate it. I honestly really like the movie. Shit, I don't know what else to fucking say. Switchblade Romance, also known as High Tension. Go check that one out. That one's really fucking good. We got another foreign one up next. This one is distributed by none other than Trauma Entertainment, responsible for The Toxic Avenger, Class of Nukem High, excuse me, God fucking damn, Blood-Sucking Freaks, and many others. This is a film distributed by them. It's based on a comic book, surprisingly. It's a little movie called Killer Condom, a film about living condoms being genetically engineered to not just eradicate adulterers, but the homosexual community. And the main character is a gay detective. He's a gay detective, and he's trying to figure out what's going on. Really, all in all, this is a really entertaining as hell horror comedy, and when it gets down to the brass tacks of it, it is all about accepting gay people for who they are. That's really what it's all about, and and it warms your heart. Also, H.R. Geiger did like some of the designs on the condoms. I'm not joking. This is something that is real. You can fucking look this up. Also, none other than Jörg Buttgereit, the director and the effects man for the Necromantic films, did the effects in the film as well, and they're really good. I honestly love Killer Condom. It's a really fun, entertaining movie, and it's got a good message. And it's on YouTube, I think. I'm pretty sure it's still on YouTube. I'm pretty sure it's on the Trauma YouTube channel. One of the most overlooked films in their actual, like, catalog of films that they didn't actually make, but that they distribute. It's definitely one of their most underrated and amongst that catalog. Next one is a personal choice because I don't see this one mentioned too often, and I just love this film to death. I'm talking about David Cronenberg's adaptation of William S. Burroughs' Naked Lunch. Now, I've read Naked Lunch. It is one of the most profane, disgusting, vile books I have ever read, and it is also one of my favorites because of how, not just profane and disgusting and violent it is, but because it swings from being weird as hell and not making any sense to like perfectly lampooning our culture and the political climate, at least at the time when the book was written. When they did the film adaptation, they thought, how are you going to adapt a book that, how are you going to take a book that has no real plot and it's just a bunch of random nonsense, how are you going to take that book and adapt it into a film? And Cronenberg did it by essentially writing about Burroughs himself. Throughout the film, the character of William Lee, who is inspired heavily by the writer of the novel William S. Burroughs, is told multiple times by weird bug monsters and stuff that like homosexuality is the best cover for a secret agent. Also, there's a scene that where he sees like a dude turn into a giant cockroach and like eat this other guy, and it is kind of it's heavily implied that what he's actually seeing is two men having sex, and the reason he sees the one guy as a cockroach is because if you see a cockroach in your dreams, it represents something you're repressing, hence repressed homosexuality. There's a lot of there's a lot of videos, or there's a lot of analyses written about what Naked Lunch is actually about. So I'm not gonna ramble on it too long, but yeah, it's a book about, it's basically a movie about fucking repressed homosexuality. And the next one is a 3-hour long, weird, fucking out there, dark horror comedy, atmospheric as hell, albeit genuinely fucking like soul draining. Not in the sense that it's like really bad, but soul draining in the sense that it's just like such a long film. I'm talking about Kurt McDowell's Thundercrack from 1966, I believe. It's got a Blu-ray release from Synapse, and I would highly recommend you pick up that Blu-ray release. It's a nice release of the film. Essentially, I've talked about Thundercrack before many times on my channel. Probably the biggest one was where I put it at the #1 spot on my weirdest sexploitation films list. And Thundercrack, what can I say about it? A bunch of people get trapped in a fucking creepy old manor on the hill, and they all just basically start to fuck. I'm gonna count this as an LGBT horror film because there are sexual acts of both heterosexuality and homosexuality in the film, and lesbianism as well. So I'm gonna go ahead and count it. If you're interested in seeing the film, I mean, I would recommend it if it's like your kind of thing. If you want to see weird kind of sexploitation films, I would recommend it. I would just recommend not like preparing, like, even though it's a long movie, don't prepare any snacks or drinks or anything. Like, bring one drink when you start the movie, because you're going to want to pause the movie every 20 to 30 minutes to go take a breather from what you've just witnessed and get a snack and a drink. Trust me, that's what I did. I stayed up until 3 a.m. watching the fucking movie. It was, oh my gosh, was it fucking crazy. Okay, we're in the home stretch now. Next one is an Italian, I'm pretty sure it's an Italian film. It might be Spanish, but I don't know. I didn't do the proper research. I don't have the years written down on my computer over there where I just have the titles listed, and I'm doing this off the top of my head sounding like a fucking idiot. The 70s, kind of surreal vampire film, The Blood-Spattered Bride. There are people who kind of argue whether or not this is a movie about like lesbianism and sexual awakening, but considering that the fucking vampire character of the actual Blood-Spattered Bride is a lesbian, I'm gonna go ahead and count it. The Blood-Spattered Bride, I haven't watched it in a few years, and from what I remember, I really fucking love this movie. I have not watched it in like a year and a half, nearly 2 years. But the Blood-Spattered Bride is essentially like this newlywed couple. They're staying at this like old house, and they discover that there was like a woman who like murdered her husband on her wedding night and disappeared, and there's like a grave for her, but it's like there's a grave set up for her, but it's believed that she's not in there, and the main character, who's the newlywed wife, is kind of slowly losing her fucking mind, and starts to believe that this like murderous woman who like murdered her husband on their wedding night at this house is coming after her for some specific reason. This movie was paired in a double feature when it was released with the film I Dismember Mama, and the ad for them as a double feature is probably most well known for showing, because it literally started with a guy like in a mental ward, and then they're like, yeah, this guy saw this double feature and he went fucking crazy. You should come see this fucking double feature of these movies. Either way, The Blood Spattered Bride is a really cool, sexy, interesting, surreal as hell vampire, like lesbian vampire movie from the 70s. I can't. It's 7 a.m. I just fucking woke up because somebody had to wake me up from my deep slumber. Alright, now on to the final movie. Okay, here we are. Final movie. The last movie is a shot-on-video film from 1983. I'm talking about Sledgehammer. Sledgehammer is easily, if you watch Sledgehammer, you'll get a few. You'll have like one of three reactions. First reaction being, this is one of the most boring and/or one of the worst movies I've ever seen. 1 out of 10. This movie is really interesting, weird, entertaining, fun in a bad way. I had fun with it. I liked this movie. Or, it's okay. When I first saw this movie, I had the first reaction. And then I rewatched it. And, yeah, I have rewatched it a couple times since. Hell, I watched it the other day because I was like, man, I want to watch a fun, bad movie. Thundercrack is one of the first shot-on-video films. Whether or not it's a good or bad thing is kind of up to you to decide. But it's essentially an intentionally kind of surreal slasher film with a lot of gay undertones and kind of themes. For instance, in the beginning scene, the fucking kid who, a lot of people believe to be like the killer in the film, is locked in a closet. And all the guys in the movie, when they get like to the house and they're like all partying and drinking, all the guys don't want to have sex like they usually would in a slasher film. They just kind of want to hang out with all the other guys. And there are other things that go on, some stuff with dialogue. Essentially, what you get here is one really fucking weird, surreal as hell, but entertaining slasher film with some gay themes and a ghostly sledgehammer that fucking disappears. I'm not joking. If that sledgehammer disappears when the killer disappears, that means that sledgehammer is a fucking ghost. So who killed that sledgehammer is the real question here. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope it isn't like absolutely fucking terrible, because I recorded this at 7 a.m. and I hate my life. So yeah, happy Pride Month, guys, and it's let's keep making gay horror movies, because we don't have enough of those, honestly. We do not have enough horror movies with gay themes that are at least super well known. All the really good horror movies with like themes with like pro LGBT themes tend to be cult films. The only one I can really think of is like Rocky Horror Picture Show, and like that's one everybody's fucking seen. But I'm starting to ramble now. Like I said before, I hate my life, and I'm Biscuit Boo Horror Reviews, signing off. Peace.